Imagine the vast, silent white desert of Greenland, where the temperature drops so low that steel becomes as brittle as glass. Beneath this deceptive surface, thousands of tons of radioactive metal and a functioning nuclear reactor were hidden from the world for decades. But what you are about to see isn't a science fiction movie. It is a terrifying multi-billion-dollar mistake that is literally waking up right now. We are going to reveal why the US military tried to hide 600 nuclear missiles inside a moving glacier, and how they built a city where the walls were constantly trying to crush the inhabitants. The most shocking part isn't the weapons themselves, but the secret legacy left behind in the dark. Stick around until the very end, because the true threat to our planet isn't buried as deep as the generals originally promised. In the late 1950s, the Cold War wasn't just a political standoff, it was an engineering race to the edges of the Earth. The Pentagon looked at the massive ice sheet of Greenland and saw the perfect hiding spot for their deadliest trump card. They called it Camp Century, a scientific research station meant to study the polar climate. But this was merely a polished cover story for the real monster lurking below, Project Iceworm. The plan was as insane as it was ambitious. A network of tunnels stretching over 4,000 kilometers carved directly into the ancient ice. Inside these frozen arteries, hundreds of nuclear missiles would be constantly moved on massive trains to avoid detection by Soviet satellites. To build this frozen fortress, the army needed more than just shovels. They needed a revolution in heavy machinery. They turned to a man named Robert Letourneau, the eccentric genius of earth-moving equipment. Letourneau didn't believe in traditional gearboxes or fragile drive shafts that would snap in the polar cold. He envisioned a monster that used electricity to conquer the terrain, creating the legendary overland train. This wasn't just a vehicle. It was a steel centipede over 170 meters long. Each of the massive wheels was powered by its own individual electric motor, a technology that felt like it belonged in the next century. Imagine a machine so large it carried its own sleeping quarters, a galley for the crew, and enough fuel to cross a continent. The tires were nearly 4 meters tall, designed to spread the immense weight of the steel wagons over the soft, treacherous snow. When the turbine engines roared to life, the high-pitched whine could be heard across the desolate tundra like a mechanical banshee. It was the ultimate logistical solution for a war that would be fought in the shadows of the North Pole. But building the tunnels required a different kind of precision, a way to chew through millions of tons of compacted snow without collapsing. The Army deployed massive Swiss-made milling machines known as Peter plows. These rotating steel drums spun at incredible speeds, chewing into the glacier and spraying the pulverized ice hundreds of feet away. It was a beautiful, terrifying sight, a mechanical beast devouring the landscape to create a hidden world. Once the main trenches were cut, they were covered with corrugated steel arches and buried under a thick layer of snow. This created a stable temperature inside, but it also created a tomb-like atmosphere for the men stationed there. They lived in prefabricated wooden buildings tucked inside these ice caverns, protected from the 100-mile-per-hour winds above. It was a masterpiece of logistics, but there was one major problem. How do you power a city buried in a glacier? The answer was the PM-2A, the world's first truly mobile nuclear power plant. This wasn't a sprawling facility. It was a modular reactor designed to be shipped in pieces and assembled like a deadly jigsaw puzzle. It was a marvel of miniaturization, providing enough electricity and heat to keep the base functioning in the most hostile environment on Earth. For the first time in history, the atom was being used to sustain life in a place where nothing was meant to survive. The technicians who operated the reactor lived just a few hundred feet from the core, separated by thick lead shielding and shimmering walls of ice. They worked in a surreal blue glow, listening to the hum of the turbines and the eerie silence of the surrounding glacier. It felt like the future of humanity, a technological triumph over nature itself. But nature has a way of fighting back. and the ice was beginning to reveal its true character. You see, a glacier isn't a solid, stationary object. It is a slow-moving river of ice that flows under its own immense weight. The engineers at the Pentagon assumed the snow would stay frozen and rigid forever, but they were fatally wrong. Within months of completion, the tunnels began to deform and twist. The unrelenting pressure of the moving ice sheet started to crush the steel arches like they were made of aluminum foil. The soldiers reported terrifying sounds at night, the loud cracks of shifting ice, and the screeching of metal under stress. Maintenance crews worked around the clock, shaving off layers of the tunnel walls to keep them from closing in on the living quarters. It was a losing battle against a slow-motion catastrophe. The dream of a hidden nuclear railway was turning into a logistical nightmare that threatened to bury everyone alive. But here is where the story gets even darker. The military realized that Project Iceworm was impossible before it was even fully operational. They had spent millions of dollars and risked the lives of hundreds of men for a project that the glacier was literally eating. By 1967, the base was officially abandoned, and the nuclear reactor was pulled out and shipped back to the United States. But they didn't take everything with them. They left behind a toxic time bomb. When the soldiers locked the hatches and walked away, they left behind thousands of tons of diesel fuel, chemical waste, and radioactive coolant. They believed the ice would keep these secrets frozen for tens of thousands of years, safely isolated from the rest of the world. They thought the Arctic was a permanent vault, a place where time stood still. But they failed to account for the one thing no engineer can control: the changing climate of our planet. Today, Greenland is melting at an unprecedented rate, and the ancient ice that once hid the sins of the Cold War is thinning rapidly. The tunnels of Camp Century are no longer deep underground. They are slowly rising toward the light. Scientific models suggest that within decades, the radioactive waste and toxic chemicals will begin to leak into the ocean. The secret base that was supposed to protect the West is now a looming environmental disaster for the entire world. The story of Project Iceworm is a stark reminder that even the strongest steel and the most advanced technology are no match for the unrelenting power of nature. As the Arctic continues to change, the ghosts of Camp Century are waiting to emerge, reminding us that some secrets simply cannot stay buried forever. The engineering of the past often leaves a footprint that we are not prepared to fill, and this frozen city is the ultimate example. If you want to see more deep dives into the machines and logistics that shaped our history, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. What other hidden military projects should we uncover next? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Logistics isn't just about moving supplies, it's about understanding the world we live in. As the Arctic continues to change, the ghosts of Camp Century are waiting to emerge, reminding us that some secrets simply cannot stay buried forever. The engineering of the past often leaves a footprint that we are not prepared to fill, and this frozen city is the ultimate example. If you want to see more deep dives into the machines and logistics that shaped our history, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. What other hidden military projects should we uncover next? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.